It's January 9th, 2024, and we're in St. Pancras Station in London. We're here today after taking the train from York to King's Cross to make the trip from St. Pancras to Brussels. We'll be making this trip through UK, France, and Belgium on the Eurostar. St. Pancras Station is huge and a little bit different than a lot of the other stations in the UK, being as it serves as the only international point of arrival for trains entering the UK. St. Pancras also serves domestic trains from Southeastern, EMR, and Thameslink. London St. Pancras is also the starting point to High Speed 1, which is the only high-speed route in the UK running between London and Folkestone. Both Eurostar and Southeastern's Javelin service operate high-speed bullet trains between London and Folkestone. Only the Eurostar continues on to continental Europe, while Southeastern continues to other locations within Europe, oftentimes branching off of High Speed 1. St. Pancras Station was opened after King's Cross in 1868 for the Midland Railway. The station in its current form was renovated in the early 2000s as a response to the Channel Tunnel opening in 1994. In 2007, Eurostar started service in St. Pancras after serving London's Waterloo Station since the Channel Tunnel's opening. Eurostar begins boarding of its trains 2 hours prior to departure. This is because, unlike other trains, Eurostar makes you go through security and customs, just like airports, before boarding the train at UK. This means that when you get on the train, you are technically in France. Eurostar recommends that you arrive 1 hour and a half prior to departure to go through the security and customs process. In sharp contrast to the awesome glory of St. Pancras Station, the waiting area is pretty bad, and there's only a Pret in there to keep you satiated until it's time to board your train, so make sure to bring some food. 15 minutes prior to departure, it's time to board the 1504 train to Brussels Midi. In an experience that reminds me of Amtrak's Acela or boarding a crowded Caltrain in San Francisco, everybody rushes for their train card to get some good luggage space or to secure a seat, but all the seats are already reserved. I'm not sure why there was such a rush. These trains are massive. They are 16 cars long. On board the train, we are greeted with 2x2 seating in standard class economy. Each seat is equipped with a table that folds down and is quite generous in room. There's also a small net and a footrest on the bottom. Above, there is a small luggage rack, although finding that in European trains, the luggage rack at the top is not large enough for an American-sized carry-on, so my carry-on had to find a spot in the luggage rack at the end of the carriage. There's also a coat hook and a reading lamp. Our train was pretty full, but I managed to get lucky and get the only seat that did not have somebody next to it. I would not be so lucky on the return, but that's fine. There's plenty of space. Our train departs on time at 15:04 for Brussels, and we make the short trip above ground before entering the tunnel, which will take us pretty far along, about 16 miles, until the next time we surface on High Speed 1.
Dear passengers, good afternoon and welcome aboard this Eurostar to Brussels, where we expect to arrive at 18:05 local time. We will be calling at Lille, Europe at 17:26 as well. I am Yo, and along with Sean, we will be your train managers today. We will be happy to help you with any journey-related questions, so please do speak to us as we walk through the train. Our Eurostar cafes are open in the middle of the train, coaches 8 and 9. We want everyone to have a comfortable and relaxing journey with us, so
Our train surfaced pretty quickly, being that we're now hitting about 200 miles an hour, and we're making our way pretty quickly towards Folkestone, the entrance of the Channel Tunnel. Views of the English countryside later, we're approaching the Channel Tunnel, and we pass the yard where some of the other Channel Tunnel trains stage before heading into the tunnel. The Channel Tunnel is one of the locations where this train will be speed restricted, not operating at quite the high speeds that it usually operates at. There are other Channel Tunnel trains which carry cars in between Folkestone and France, and that's the yard that we're seeing here. Entering the Channel Tunnel and exiting takes about 20 minutes, and somehow I have Wi-Fi inside of it. That one didn't make any sense. And then my phone immediately disconnected because I had entered France. From this point, we would resume 300 kilometers per hour until we reached Lille. Riding the Eurostar was a bucket list item of mine, something that I have been wanting to do for about a decade now. It was a really cool experience to get to check this off my list, and I decided to go to Brussels because there's some awesome trains that you'll see in future videos. Eurostar also runs direct trains to Paris, which will be something that I'll have to experience on another trip. With the sun down, it's time to take a closer look at the Eurostar seat. There are two seat pockets, one net pocket and one small reading pocket towards the top. Above the window, there are movable coat hooks, as well as a large light, and your seat locations, with the seat reservation screens, which indicate if the seat is reserved or not. On this train, they didn't indicate the seat, likely because everybody got on in London. Each seat also has a footrest and a small amount of legroom, typical for about an airplane. I was kind of disappointed by it. There's also an armrest, and there's European style and UK style power outlets in between the seats. Each seat also does recline. I was disappointed by the comfort and legroom on the Eurostar. The seats are about as crowded as an airplane, so it's no more comfortable or convenient than flying, being that you have to go through security and you're crammed inside of a small seat. At least the trains are large and roomy. Comparing this to my experience on American trains, yes, this is about twice the speed, but the comfort on American trains is about double. The legroom I've gotten on US trains, including the Acela, is probably about a foot more. Not exaggerating, it's way more comfortable. After a short station stop in Lille, our train continues to Brussels, which you see here. We arrive on time at 18:05. After 4 days in Brussels, we'll be riding the Eurostar again, which you see here. It's now January 14th, 2024, and we're boarding the 8:51 train from Brussels Midi to London St. Pancras. We'll be riding in standard class again between Brussels and London, and this time our train will run direct with no intermediate stops between Brussels and London. Just like in London, we had to go through passport control and security prior to entering the train, meaning we had to arrive about an hour and a half before departure. This security and passport control is pretty painless, although a little bit old-fashioned when compared to the airports in the UK. Security is exactly what you'd expect from an airport, with metal detectors and bag scanners, the only difference being that there is no limitation on liquids you can bring on board, including some quantity of alcohol. I had no issues through passport control. There's even a special Eurostar passport stamp that you get with a little train logo under the actual passport stamp, which was kind of a cool takeaway. Leaving Brussels Midi, you get a good look at a lot of SNCB trains entering and exiting the Brussels area. We'll get a good look at those trains in future videos, so make sure to subscribe. SNCB is the state railway company of Belgium and runs a ton of services all around the small country. Outside of Brussels, it is gloomy, and we are rapidly approaching the train's top speed of 300 kilometers per hour. One small but disappointing note is that the exterior of these trains, despite them being slightly newer, was really dirty, which made it hard to see through the outside. On the previous trip, I did not test the Wi-Fi. In this case, I got to book some tickets to the London Transport Museum on my way to London. On one of my trips, I did get a chance to walk through some of the train. The train is huge, with 3 different classes of service: a standard class, a premium class, and first class. First class tickets were well over $400 on this trip, so that definitely was not an option. Walking through the first class carriages, though, the seats looked huge, and they were being served some crazy 5-star dining service. It looked like a $400 seat, that's for sure. The Eurostar train also has a cafe car. I did get to walk there, although I didn't get any footage of the car, and it serves a bunch of different food that was really, really expensive. For the 2-hour trip, I actually just waited to get to Belgium so I could have a Belgian waffle. Our trip through France, through the Channel Tunnel, and through the UK was relatively uneventful, although unfortunately really overcast, which meant that the video outside of the train was horrible. Rounding the curve, we do get a look at London's St Pancras station and another Eurostar at the very end of the platform. This platform extension was built for some of the domestic trains as additional platforms, but was primarily built because the Eurostar trains are extremely long, and the original St Pancras station did not have enough space for these giant train sets. On both legs of my journey, I got to ride a Siemens E320 high-speed train, which are the flagship of Eurostar's international fleet. Eurostar also operates the E300, which we saw earlier in our video and are built by Alstom. On services inside of continental Europe, Eurostar operates a lot of ex-Thales locomotives and train sets. Eurostar currently services some of Western Europe, which includes France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Brussels. Our train pulls into the platform at St Pancras on time at 9:57. Unlike in Brussels, where we're allowed to get off the train without additional screening, in the UK you are screened separately by the UK border officers before being allowed into the country. Overall, I was pretty impressed with the speed and comfort of the Eurostar, despite the seats being pretty cramped and the general experience being pretty crowded and really, really expensive. Let's take a minute to talk about my ticket pricing. The Eurostar trip cost $76 each way, which was steep. Despite that, the Eurostar offers a completely unique experience and a pretty quick way to get to Belgium, and allowed me to experience more of Europe. In the next videos, I'll be showcasing trains from Belgium in my 4-day stay in the country before returning to the UK. Make sure to subscribe so you can see those videos, and thanks for watching.